ち相手してられないのだわ。マイナサ卑劣な奇襲なのだわ。舞踏会へようこそ。波のリズムを感じて連続得点なのだわ。剣の舞うまま。やっはっ舞いなさい。はっせっさっやっ。いちいち相手してられないのだわ。やっはっひばっはっ完璧なシンメトリー。おっと波乗りタイム。
Okay, cool. So that's a quick little run. Let me just double check. I did my Notorious Monster Hunt. I think I did. Oh shit, maybe not. Oh no, okay, yeah. So I did do this week's one, okay.
Mm. これセシリア先生が用意してくれてさ。
Oh wow, this is actually a problem because so this is actually going to be really rough if I don't So basically, I thought I got the one because I'm like, oh, this is only 2 stars out of 5. But if I don't fucking ascend it, if I don't ascend it the second I get it, like, so this is 4 out of 5, right? So next patch, I'll get another one of these. But if I don't ascend it right away, then during the next patch, I might get a 6th one if I don't ascend. Because I didn't realize, oh shit. So okay, so I have all those. Yeah, so it's just one of these issues where it could be a problem. So these are all, pretty sure I have all of these. Wait, what? Why is this here? This up here? Oh, no, they're different. Okay, yeah, they are different. They look very similar. Where's the other one? Where's that other camera? Oh, wait. Okay, so this one's already maxed. Is this one? See there? Okay, so that's the maxed one. can't use. But this one, I don't have a second one. So what I try to do is I try to get 2 of each. And once I have 2 of each, then I can just scrap everything else. I think the problem is when you're trying to ascend them, when you're looking at them from in there, when they have 5 stars, they're really hard to tell that they have 5 stars. Because like I kind of wish the stars would glow a little more. Okay. I kind of wish they would glow a little more. I kind of wish they would glow a little more. Because, like, I should know, because like there is a difference in the color between the. So like if you have a 1-star one, it'll appear as a 1-star one. It'll appear as a 1-star one. Like you'll see an obvious difference between the star that it has by default and the empty ones. The problem is when you have 5 stars and it's fully maxed out, there is no color difference between them, so you're just like, shit, it's a 0-star, but there is no 0-star. So basically, if all of them are the same color, then you know it's the right one. The problem is it's just hard to know that there is no color difference when you can't see any difference. Because you have no frame of reference, especially if you've like maxed. If you only have a maxed one to compare with.
瞬き厳禁だぜ。上ゴーゴー。
シラフのターマス3度まで。
早せくすべて。
スターライトサイクロン。
白くだ。ダボッカルレレレレレレ
I'm actually surprised how quickly I got my stun bar on that. Like she's an anomaly. She's an attacker. Like Cynthia and Billy are both attackers, I think. And Mamiya could be an attacker, but I think she's more anomaly because they mention this part of her kit has to do with blooms, and blooms are typically a anomaly unit type thing.
第一交代にある異例の地じゃん。
つまりなんだ？ラミルと完璧にはぐれちまったってことじゃん。
焦るんじゃない。僕はそうは思わないよ。あれを見。
They look nice though.
あ、この花。
って言ってもよ。
Yeah, the problem, of course, is that if she's already been here and left flowers, then we have no fucking clue where she's gone, right? We were able to track her from the tea shop, but it only led to, she bought these flowers and is going to this location. But when she's dropped these off, we have no clue where she's been or going to go.
100年以上前どうした？なんでもない。100年くらい前、旧エリートがちょうど喧騒したくらいの頃だもんね。
Wait, what? So even she knows.
ラミルって名前は。
Wait, Old Eridu was founded 100 years ago. Just, pink hair. I don't get like. Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is kind of the thing. There must be some sort of legend about Old Eridu. There must be some sort of like story about the founding of Old Eridu, which probably mentions a pink-haired girl or a pink-haired woman or whatever, right? As one of the founders, and that must be what we were thinking about, right? That must be. So, darn. So my guess was wrong, I think. Well, it's hard to say. We don't really know because they haven't really told us yet. What I was thinking is that maybe Ramiel was part of the group that sealed the creator. And so the reason why she's out and about now is because when she and everyone sealed the creator, each one of them like sealed themselves in with the creator, right? So they sealed themselves in so they could constantly keep the seal going against the creator. And when the seal broke, as part of the season 2 patch, where Zhao Guang's brother, Shen Guang or whatever, Yi Shen Guang, broke the seal, maybe that seal was the one. That seal was the one maybe maintained by Ramiel, and so with the seal broken and the creator, that portion of the creator freed, maybe Ramiel was now also free. But I was thinking, but I thought, but in my internal timeline, I thought the sealing of the creator happened ages ago, like much longer than 100 years ago. Although it could be that it could be that now this has properly dated it. Maybe the creator was around at the time of Old Eridu, and it was the sealing. Maybe the creator was causing a lot of problems, and it was everyone grouping together to seal the creator. That, you know, that after they sealed the creator, maybe at that point that's when they created Old Eridu, the city, right? So maybe the creator fucked over the world, and humanity got wiped out, because like they made it seem like Eridu was like the only city in this world, but they haven't really like gone too much into detail about the rest of the world. But they made it seem like this was like the last bastion of civilization. So it could be that the creator did fuck over the entire world, right? And the remnants of humanity bonded together to fight against the creator and then seal them. And then after the sealing of the creator, they decided to form Old Eridu, right? They decided to form Eridu as the last bastion of civilization. It's like, cool, now that we've beaten this person who is trying to destroy the world, we're gonna gather all the survivors of his tyrannical rule and create this amazing city, right? So it could be that is what happened. I thought it was longer ago, because the creator clearly is the one who created the sword that Zhao Guang uses. And so it's like, if the creator was the one who created that sword, they made it seem like it was like the sword had a longer history, or it's been passed out, it's been passed down a lot. And 100 years isn't really that many instances, many chances to pass it down. Even though it does kill its creator, or it does kill its user, like there's going to be downtime between sword uses. It's not like you're always going to have someone taking it over every single time. And Zhao Guang has had it for like 10 years or so. Yishuan's sister has had it for a while too. Then there was previous people who had it when we went into the sword realm. So it's like, it feels like it's been longer than just 100 years since the sword's been passing down. Since the sword has been passed down, and the sword would only have started to be passed down after the creator was sealed, because I believe the people who sealed the creator also were the ones who sealed the sword of the creator. But these are all wild speculations. Obviously, they're going to tell us at some point. Like, clearly they're alluding to the founding of Eridu, and so we're probably going to learn a lot more about them as well. So it's probably going to be more, we're probably going to be learning more about it as we either as part of this patch, probably next patch. I don't it's really hard to tell, because like this epilogue is barely started, so it's hard to know how much they're going to cover here, or how much they want to make a cliffhanger for the next season. Are they just going to barely touch into it so that they can do the big reveal in the next season, in the next patch? Or is it going to be something like, maybe they're going to do a big reveal, and that big reveal will be the cliffhanger? It's like, oh my god, like, I'm actually the creator's sister, or something like that, And so it's like, what? Oh, you're the creator's sister? And you defied your brother to then help seal him away? Could be something like that.
別に探りを入れてるわけじゃない。でもこれから長いこと一緒にやっていく。私たちの目的は一致している。そう。でも完全一致。 私はサンブリンガーから答えが欲しい。君たちもそうだよね。本当に同じ。
Yeah, Sunbringer. Shit, I forget exactly. It has been referenced, and I believe it was during Arya's. Is it Sunbringer the head of the Marcel company? I forget. But basically, I think during Arya's thing, when we were going into that mining location, when we were first kind of being introduced to yokai, it was talking about how Sunbringer, actually, I guess probably fought against the creator. So maybe Sunbringer is one. So, oh, actually, no, yeah, Sunbringer is one of the founders, I believe. But I think it was the head of the Marcel company as well. But yeah, it's kind of tough when there's been so much time between patches. 6 weeks between patches. If you're doing things while it's current, you're just like shit. Now you have to remember people by name, which is especially hard for like Sunbringer because Sunbringer is never actually seen. Like they show silhouettes of it. I think Sunbringer is the one with like huge horns. I think they're the head of the Marcel company. But it's just like we don't see them. We are only told about them. Makes it hard for those to really form meaningful memories because we just lack the context to remember. But yeah, Sunbringer is one of the people who fought against the creator. Actually, yeah, shit. Yeah, they fought against the creator. Then I guess the creator was sealed 100 years ago in the founding of the city. Although it is interesting, that they're saying, oh, we want to get more information from Sunbringer. It's like, well, wasn't Sunbringer dead? It's been 100 years, but then Ramiel's still alive. So I could be right in the sense that when the creator was sealed, hang on, actually, one sec. Yeah, so my theory was that when the creator was sealed, each one of them might have sealed themselves in with them to keep them sealed, right? And I believe Sunbringer, they did mention that Sunbringer was fighting against them, and then they were fighting in the mine, and were even like doubted by their people. But it seemed like Sunbringer also got like kind of corrupted, maybe. I'm not quite sure. It's been a while, so I've forgotten because it wasn't even the last patch; it was the patch before that. Or actually, wait. Is it? Yeah, I think so. Because it was the one where we fought Sarah. Sarah, who had like opened up this big thing in the mine that like combined with the creator or whatever. So. Okay, so, yeah, so anyway. So if I'm right, and maybe core members were sealed away with the creator to keep the creator sealed, then if they both want to get information from Sunbringer, it could be that they're looking for the next seal. They're looking for the seal that Sunbringer's in. And so basically they're going to free a portion of the creator again, just so they could talk with Sunbringer. Now, Ramiel might want to just talk with Sunbringer. It could be that these guys just want to free the creator. But yeah, see, this is what I like about MiHoYo games, is that they're consistent, that I can do this kind of like theory crafting. Oh, what's Cecilia there? I think she'd be too scared to even be close to her during her off time. But at least it's consistent. Like, I might not agree with how they characterize some things, or how the events play out or whatever. But at least, like, if I theory craft, I'm basing it off of stuff that's being told to me, and I know that this stuff is going to be true. You know, I know that next patch, they're not going to just be like, oh, whoops, we forgot what happened in the last patch, and so we're going to contradict what happened then. So, like, that's one of the things I like about these games, is that, you know, I like seeing the story unfold. I like trying to take the clues they give you and trying to, like, figure out what's going on in the world, because it's kind of a mystery, and that's kind of how these stories go, especially, you know, because they want to be like, hey, you know, they as a live service game, they want to keep people interested, so they have to, you know, do these twists and turns and stuff like that, and so it's part of the fun where you're just like, oh, hey, cool, like, so with this new information, what can we extrapolate from that? Like, where do we think the story's going to go and stuff like that? And you could, in theory, be correct, right? Now, sometimes it's almost impossible to be correct because they just don't give you enough information, and too many new things happen. So it's just like, oh, actually, like, so many new things happened that not enough of them were foreshadowed, so that you can't estimate it. You know, it's like, oh, well, yeah, this happened. Like, Ramiel appearing, like, there's no way in hell we would have known that, right? And now that she has appeared, and we're seeing her powers, we're, like, trying to figure out, you know, who she is, what she is. And obviously, like, I think pretty much everyone can make the assumption that she lived 100 years ago, and for some reason is now here. I'm thinking she was sealed away with the Creator, and the Creator that was unsealed, that broke the seal, was the seal that Ramiel was in, and that's why she's out. That's my guess. But I think that's probably going to be true, right? So, and that's why just like Wuthering Waves is such a shit story, is because you can't, like, first of all, they just don't foreshadow as much. You can clearly tell they don't think ahead that much, because they just do not foreshadow their patches. It's like, there's nothing that happened 2 patches ago that's going to really have much significance 2 patches later. It's like, at most, they're going to foreshadow something in the previous patch. In the previous patch, they might say something that is then used in the next patch. But if it's beyond that, it's like, nope, sorry, like, they just forgotten everything they did in the 1.x patches, and now that they're in 3.x, they're probably not going to bring up anything that happened in 2.x. You know, it's just like, they're not building upon the world. They're just like, okay, now we're going to a new place, and now everything's new, and now we're just going to do a ton of new stuff that's not going to really relate to the previous stuff at all. And in fact, and what pisses me off the most about it is just oftentimes it actually flies in the face of what happened previously. So it's not even like you can just get annoyed. Oh man, like, I really like these characters. It sucks that we're never going to see them again. You know, it's like, oh man, I like that story. It's a shame that the new story completely, like, contradicts what they previously said. Like, just going through the 2.x story, they're just, like, contradicting themselves constantly. They just cannot keep their timelines consistent, where they're just like, yeah, here's the order of events that happened in the past. And it's like, okay, but, like, everyone keeps talking about these events as if they happened ages ago, but now you're just saying, no, that happened 20 years ago. But it's like, well, how does everyone reference them as old history? But 20 years ago, it's like, people were fucking alive then, you know? Like, this couldn't have possibly happened 20 years ago. You couldn't have formed the Order 20 years ago, because there's no way you'd have such a stranglehold on the city for just 20 years worth of work, right? Like, there's just no way at all, you know? Because their alliance is with the weaker of the families. So it's like, the Montelli family is just much better. So it's like, you allied with the weaker of the family, so it's like, that's not going to give you as much pull as you would like. So it's like, how did in 20, and that's the thing is, and it's not even 20 years, right? Because they even mentioned, like, well, 10 years ago, that's when Cartithia, like, sacrificed herself. But they even mentioned that, like, during that time, the church was already pushing for, you know, for a lack of celebration, right? So the church was already trying to exert control to stop people's freedoms. And it's just like, well, like, I already thought it was crazy that the church could be created and develop a stranglehold on the culture of that city in 20 years. And now they're saying, oh yeah, not only in 20 years, they did it in 10 years. Because 10 years later, they were already able to influence a huge amount of power to try to curtail people's freedoms. And it's just like, that makes no fucking sense, right? Like, it would make sense if it was like 100 years ago, and they've just been slowly shifting towards a more drastic... Anyway, that's beside the point. I've complained about this multiple times. Anyway, so the problem is that they just were wildly inconsistent with how they tell their story. And so you go into one patch and you're hearing all these things, and you're like, okay, cool. Like, well, based on these things, then I think this is kind of like what happened in the past. I think based on what they've told us, I think this is the general outline of what happened. And then, like, the next patch happens, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to tell you some things that are just completely different and completely contradict all of your assumptions that you had before. And it's not even like I'm going crazy and being like, oh, well, I just thought up some crazy shit. I took their clues and then made wild assumptions. It's like, no, like, I'm developing a timeline based on what they said in-game. And now you're just like, well, now we're going to tell you some more things that just completely contradict what we told you before. And you're just like, what the fuck, you know? And like same for Cantarella's thing, right? Like, Cantarella's thing in the sword, like, she makes it seem like the Cantarella family had been, like, sacrificing themselves to the sword for ages, right? For tons of time. Like, it's some huge, long tradition. But that's like Cartithia's sword, isn't it? And if Cartithia sacrificed herself 10 years ago, then the Cantarella family would have only been doing it for 10 years. So it's like, that's barely any time. You know, like, even if they sacrificed one girl per year, right? If every year they try to bond with the sword, and one girl dies because of it, or, you know, bonds successfully and then dies, you know, it would only be 10 girls, unless, like, lots of them are sacrificing themselves in the attempt to bond. But even still, I think it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense at all. And so basically, that's kind of where I was getting really confused at, because, like, they just cannot, for the life of them, seem to come up with a logically consistent timeline where it's just like, okay, they talk about all the events as if they happened ages ago, but then they actually, like, bring up real time frames and be like, oh yeah, they happened ages ago. Oh, 20 years ago. I'm like, what? Like, when we went to the Black Shore, too, they did another 20-year thing where it's like, we go to the Black Shore, literally no one recognizes us at all, except for Shorekeeper. And so we're like, oh, so we must have been gone for a while then, you know? Like, we're immortal, it seems, and we've existed for hundreds and thousands of years, so it's understandable that, you know, if we've been gone for 100 years, no one alive would be around to have met us, right? Sure, right? But then they're like, nope, you were here 20 years ago. You were chilling. You were at this location 20 years ago. Like, that's how you met. And also, that's kind of a weird thing, too, because it's like, oh, well, you met Camellia and saved her from herself, basically. But it's just like, well, we were only around here 20 years ago. So, like, she's in no way, like, she doesn't even look 20 years old. But let's say she's, like, 24. Like, that's the thing, is, like, she'd have to be, like, she'd have to be almost 30, really. Because, like, there's no way she could have had the issues she had and been intelligent, like, aware enough to remember us if she was young, right? Like, if she was 24 and so we found her when she was 4, there's no way in hell she would have imprinted that hard on us for that she would still remember us after a 20-year gap. So it's just like, so many things just don't fucking make sense. They're just like, yeah, you did this, you did this, you did this. Oh, and by the way, we're going to force this 20-year gap in here. So it's like, these things that just completely contradict themselves. Also, the fact that, like, if we were here, like, even if we were relatively isolationist and didn't really meet with a lot of the Black Shore people, if we were here 20 years ago, there's definitely people in Black Shore who would have just happened to have seen us 20 years ago. You know? And maybe they didn't realize who we were, so they didn't stick out in their memory too much. But it's just like, it's the same problem I had with Renacida, where they're like, oh yeah, 20 years ago is when the Threnodians fought against the Sentinel. It's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Because why does no one seem to remember it, right? No one seemed to remember it properly. It's talked about in legend. We see these stained glass windows describing the event in a ruined stone building. It's like, yeah, so you're saying that they managed to build a church or build a stone building, fill it with stained glass, and then it got destroyed all within a 20-year time frame? Like it takes a while to build a building. And then also the stained glass that describes the history. And then for the church to be like, or the order to be like, yeah, even though this happened 20 years ago, and most everyone who was alive back then are alive now, we're gonna try to change history, right? We're gonna try to pretend that what happened 20 years ago wasn't exactly what happened. We're gonna say it's happened slightly differently, and it's like, what? People were alive. They lived that event. Like that kind of history shit, that kind of history changing shit happens generations later, right? You have the original history. And then the order would be like, okay, well, it's been like 50 years. Everyone who was alive then is dead. Now it's time to start changing it's time to start changing our doctrine and changing our history so that we can kind of make people think that events happen differently. Now that there's no one alive to contradict us, we're just going to say this is the way it happened instead. That's the kind of timeline you would need. But they're like, no, it happened 20 years ago. Yeah, we changed. Our teachings were different. But even though we changed them while living people are still alive to remember the past, and it's just like, it just makes no sense. But yeah, anyway, I've complained about their story consistency for a long time. And now, like, I'm seeing that, like, and it's basically completely denied the original setting of the world, too, right? Because the original setting of the world was the world's being fucked over by tacit discords. There's a lot of problems with the world. There's these Threnodians that are active. The Threnodians are these insanely powerful beings that, like, basically fuck over the entire world. Yet, in the 1.0 patch, we beat one of them. Just flat out beat it. And it's like, okay, well, we are special. But then it's like, oh, well, also in 2.0, in the 2.x thing, there's another Threnodian, which was just was beaten by a Sentinel, and that was it. Like, they were able to beat it just fine. And again, not just fine, they were corrupted by it. And then we have to pop in again, but it's like, it's a Threnodian. It should be a thing that could easily destroy the city. How is the city still alive? Especially if it happened 20 years ago. Like, you think the fight alone would have destroyed huge portions of the city. Especially a coastal town like they were. Like, they're a coastal town, and this is a water-based Threnodian. You think the fight between them and the Sentinel would have destroyed all coastal cities simply because of the waves and shit. So, it doesn't make sense. But basically, the setting of the world is like, oh my god, the world's kind of being screwed. And like in the Black Shores, we learn how, there's been multiple calamities that have been occurring. I think they even said like 10,000 or so, 10,000 plus calamities. Or was it millions of calamities over the last 10,000 years, or was it 10,000 calamities over the last 10,000 years? I forget. It was a lot, though. And basically, the calamities we're talking about are like the ones that happened in the first 1.0 map area, the one with all the red flowers and stuff, like with the floating buildings, because like that's ground zero for one of the calamities happened. Completely destroyed the city. It fucked over gravity, so they're just buildings floating in the sky now. That's the kind of calamity, and there's been 10,000 of them in the past. And then we go to Renacida, and Renacida is perfectly fine. Not a single issue with the place. And sure, there are some ruined buildings, but again, they also were fighting a Threnodian. But pretty much everything is perfectly fine. Like, what? Like, Black Shore said there's been tons of issues all over the world. How the fuck is Renacida completely fine? And then we go to 3.x, and it's like, oh look, here's another city that's completely unaffected by the supposed calamities. Calamities that supposedly appear in places of high population. And then they have these huge cities and all this technology, which is like, oh, well then clearly you're just not affected at all. So basically, it just exemplifies the problems I have with the game, where they're just like, they just completely forget about everything. So yeah, so it's like they just kind of completely forgotten about the original setting of the world. And they basically are following kind of like the rule of cool, where it's like, well, wouldn't this be cool? And so they do it, right? Which is fine, right? It's if you don't care about the world and you just want to enjoy the ride, that's fine, right? But it doesn't make for an immersive world, right? When you're constantly contradicting your own world building, you're just not going to get people who are going to care about the world, because anything they could care about the world is just going to be forgotten about or changed later, right? It's why so many people hate retcons for a variety of things, you know, because maybe they fall in love with the character because of their history, their backstory, the stuff they've done, and so when you go in and be like, oh yeah, all that shit never happened, you know, people just don't like it because they liked the character because of the stuff that happened in the past, and you're basically just saying, well, yeah, fuck all that shit, right? And so that's basically why I stopped Wuthering Waves. That and the exploration felt really tedious and boring. Like, it's fine. Like, honestly, if I played the game without being too serious, right? If I just went through and just did the main story and nothing else, like just didn't even do events, just did the main story and didn't bother with exploration at all, I would probably have a much more enjoyable time. Because I could just focus on I could just enjoy the ride, as it were. But the problem is like when I play games like that, I'm just such a completionist that I want 100% the maps. I want to be done with the game, right? So I want to 100% the map so I can be like, cool, I don't need to go back to this map because I've explored everything there. There's no reason to go back because I've done everything, right? That's kind of my mentality with that. And for some games, that's fine because it's either super easy to get the things you need. Like Honkai Star Rail is relatively easy to get all the stuff you need because the maps are relatively small and there's easy ways to track stuff now. So it's like, if you want to get everything on the map, it doesn't take you long. Maybe like an hour, right? An hour per map if you're just focused on it. Maybe 2 if it's a big enough map and you fuck around a bit. But not that long. And Genshin has you explore a lot more. It takes you a lot more time to explore. Genshin has you explore a lot more. And it takes a lot more time to explore because it is an open world stuff. Honkai Star Rail is just basically a little map. I like this game too. This game has little tiny maps, instance maps, areas, whereas Genshin's a big open world. But Genshin exploration feels nice. It feels fun. It feels meaningful. Which obviously, you know, that's obviously a personal preference, and I just don't get that from Wuthering Waves. It just feels like you're just doing things to check off a checklist. And then, like, I saw that in, like, 3.0, they were like, oh, yeah, we're going to add this new mechanic, this tune break or whatever like that. And so it's like, they had the previous shit, but now they have this, and it's like, the problem when you introduce a completely new mechanic like that is it can make power creep much, much worse. You know? Because whenever you're introducing a new system, typically you kind of want to make the new system cool and flashy and good, right? And so combined with just the normal power creep a character could have, when you have a completely new system like this, you could increase that power even more so than you expect. And then, of course, the problem is whenever you introduce a new mechanic, you're obviously going to make enemies that need to be weak to that mechanic, right? You're like, okay, well, we have this new mechanic, and so now we're going to introduce enemies that need that mechanic to be used upon them to make them vulnerable and stuff like that. So, like, that's the problem. Is that now, if there are enemies that need that mechanic, you can no longer use old characters. And Genshin does it too. It's not like Genshin is a paragon of virtue in that sense. Like, as an example, for Natlan, you have the Night Soul Burst mechanic, and then they introduced those shadow enemies. The shadow enemies that don't really have a health bar, they have this gauge that you need to fill up, and once they fills it up, it reverts them back from their transformed state to a generic state, where then you can kill them. And the only way to fill up that gauge is using elemental attacks. Now, you can do other characters. You can use other characters' elemental attacks to fill it up. However, if you have a Natlan character who can go into Night Soul Burst, it fills the gauge much faster. And so, against regular enemies, you can still kind of brute force it with old characters. But whenever you fight a boss that uses that mechanic like that, now you're kind of like, you're kind of fucked, because it's like, oh shit, if you don't have a Natlan character, so that you can't fill up the gauge fast enough to solve this mechanic, then you're in trouble. And so now you kind of introduce a power creep for that. Which, as long as it's minimal, like, oh, it's just one boss, fine, sure, right? Like, one boss where, you have an advantage if you use some new characters, if you use characters from Natlan, that's fine. And, like, you get enough free stuff that eventually Natlan characters will come back on banner and you can pull for some. And you don't really need that many characters that have Night Soul Burst as well, so you just need one or two characters. And there are some characters that should go very well with, like, Shillanin is just a very good pickup regardless, and Mavaka is insanely good too. So it's like, it's not too bad if there's just one kind of big boss that's kind of annoying. But, it's this kind of thing, is that whenever you make a mechanic, you're now going to make enemies that are weak to it. Specifically too. And that's why so I haven't played 3.0 at all in Wuthering Waves, but I assume that with this, like, tune break or tune whatever, there's probably enemies that need you to, like, tune break them to, like, interrupt abilities, or to put them into a stun window of sorts, or maybe it just increases their stagger bar a shitload, so that, like, other stagger increases are nothing by comparison. So it just, yeah. But generally, I just don't like it. Because there's already kind of power creep and stuff like that before. And all gacha games do. It just eventually happens. Because, like, you create a new character, you create a new mechanic. You don't want to make the mechanic suck, because you want people to buy the characters, get all that shit. So you make the mechanic good, but characters that have a mechanic that other characters don't, especially if it's if it's a good mechanic, then you're just naturally going to have an advantage and naturally be stronger. But the thing is, it just makes it far more complicated. And it's basically, I didn't like how Sweat Lordy Wuthering Waves rotations were, where it was like, you have to swap cancel and all that shit for, like, the perfect for the perfect rotation. I'm just like, god damn, that's, like, way too much effort for me. Like, I understand why people like it. It's like, yeah, sure, it means that really skilled players can do it really, really well. And I do understand the appeal that combat like that has for people, where you can have a lot of skill expression. And so if it's challenging, you feel more rewarded for actually overcoming it. So I do get that. But I'm just not that type of person. Like, I don't feel... Like, sure, like, beating a boss feels good, right? But, like, beating a really hard boss doesn't feel that much better. Like, so basically, if I was given the choice between a boss that I could beat in one go versus a boss that is more challenging, that takes me 100 attempts to beat, I'll do the first boss every single time. Like, if I ever played Elden Ring, which I never will, because it has no story, and stories are what compel me to play the games. Stories are what motivate me to do these things, and Elden Ring's story is dog shit. But if I played Elden Ring, I would do the main story, and that's it. Would I do Melania? Fuck no. Why? Because there's no fucking point. There's no reason to do that boss, other than just for the challenge or to be a completionist. And even then, it's just like, yeah, and it would take me, many attempts. And sure, when I eventually clear it, will I feel a sense of accomplishment? Of course, right? But will that sense of accomplishment outweigh the hours I spent beating the boss? Fuck no. My time is far too valuable to waste on bullshit like that for nothing more than just a quote-unquote sense of accomplishment, right? Now, if it's a powerful boss, like if this is the final boss of the game, and once I beat them, I get, I can see the conclusion of the story, then yeah, I would definitely feel more incentivized to do it. Because yeah, sure, I might quote unquote waste hours attempting and reattempting that boss to beat the story, but not only would I get the sense of accomplishment, but I would get the remainder of the story, and now the game would be complete, right? So so there's all this extra added stuff. So for me, it was never really about, like, I've never really been a huge action combat guy, and that's why I like Genshin, because it's not wildly hard and difficult. It is, the rotations are relatively easy. The game is not super challenging, but it's not super easy in and of itself as well. So it's like it has the right level of challenge, where it's just challenging enough to feel rewarding for beating it, but not too challenging so that it feels tedious. And I think Wuthering Waves is just more tedious than anything, especially early game. And early game really did paint that. But even still, like I did stop after 1.1 and then get back in right before 2.0 came out. So I blasted through everything, 100% of everything, 100% of all of 2.0, 100% of all of 2.1, and then I stopped at 2.2. I'm just like, dude, this is just really tedious, and they just keep constantly contradicting the story, and it's like, I just can't take this world seriously. And so that's why every time I see, I see events, I see story in other games, I'm just like, God damn, Wuthering Waves sucks, And it's fine, right? Because, like, Wuthering Waves is also not the first one to do it. Crimson Desert, lots of people go like Crimson Desert, but holy shit, the story is bad. Like, I was kind of like, I got sucked into it, and I put at least 200 hours into it already, but I'm kind of at the point where I've explored 100%ed for the most part. Payloon, Demonis, and Hernand. Like, I've done all the exploration, all the main quests, all the main faction quests. There's some commission ones that you can only find by just wandering around and hoping that you've come across them. But I've done all the major faction ones and all that, and most of the exploration and stuff. And I'm on chapter 11, and I'm just like, you know what? I really just don't want to do the exploration with Crimson Desert and Delizia anymore. I kind of just want to just beat the story and stop playing the game, because all the quests are just so the same. Every country's quests are the same. The bounties are the same. They're really easy. The only issue with them is just how annoying it is to get the bounty from wherever they were to the jail. The commissions are all the same, of just go here, go here, go here, open a note, read a note, go here, look at more notes. They're all very samey. And even the ones that are for, like, the major factions, they're over so quickly. Like, the actual narrative elements are just, like, so minor and inconsequential that you're just like, who cares? And basically, because I did everything in Payloon, Hernand, and Demonis, when I come across these quests in Crimson Desert and Delizia, I'm just like, oh, okay, so it's this kind of quest again. And even when I was in Delizia doing some random side quests, I'm noticing I'm kind of, like, speeding through the dialogue, not properly, like, reading it. Like, I'm still reading it, but, like, I'm, skimming through it, basically. Which is like, if I'm already doing that, it's like, clearly I'm just not interested in this stuff anymore. And so I just want to focus on the main story. But yeah, and that's the thing, is the story is bad. And it's not compelling enough to keep me playing the game. I mean, I put 200 hours into this, but I mean, that's good enough. And I've also gotten to the point where, like, my power level is basically capped out. Like, I haven't changed my Abyss gears in forever. Most of my gear is level 10. The only one that's not is one of my earrings, because I just don't have the small bones for it. Because you need 75 small bones for level 8, which is a lot. You need to kill a lot of deer for that. And my cape, because I'm missing ivory, so I need to go into Crimson Desert somewhere to find ivory if I want to level my cape up. But everything else is maxed out. So, like, my power is pretty much maxed out. Like, I haven't actually increased my power level in a long time. The only thing I've been doing is increasing my armor level a little bit, and that's it. So it's just like, yeah, I'm not growing anymore in the game. I have shitloads of money. So, like, I'm good. I've done everything I need to do. And yeah, so I'm basically because I was thinking I was gonna thinking I was gonna do all the quests and all the zones because I was having fun initially. Like when my personal power was growing after exploring and discovering stuff, all the stuff I was finding, I was like, oh, I beat this boss. It gives me this item that gives me these buffs and stuff like that. Oh, I got this new piece of gear that has this cool abyss gear that I'm gonna sock it. But like now my abyss, like I haven't changed my abyss gears in like 20 plus hours, maybe 50, maybe even up to 50 hours. So it's just like, yeah, I'm not getting any good new gears anymore. It's just, yeah, there's just not much for me to do. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, it's the same kind of thing where it's like, yeah, the story's bad. And it distracts you by making it quantity over quality. So they give you so much stuff that you're just constantly doing new things, and it's the new stuff that makes you excited. It's the new stuff that makes you excited, and that's basically what kept me going. Not because the content itself was interesting, but because it was new, and that level of excitement to that content made it interesting. And now that I've done it, each thing like 20 to 30 times, I'm just like, okay, well, this is more of the same. And so, yeah. And so when people are saying, oh, comes in as Game of the Year, it's like, no, not at all. There's way too many problems with the game. Like, it's a fun game, right? It's definitely a fun game. I would recommend people playing the game. But, like, I wouldn't say it's Game of the Year. Like, there's way too many problems with it that even their constant patching and shit is not helping. It's like underlying, like, core problems where it's like, yeah, the quests are boring. It's it's a huge pain in the ass to 100% the zone. Like, if you wanted 100% everything, getting all the memories, getting all the quests, it's a huge pain in the ass because there's just no easy ways to find where these things are. There's no easy way to find where these things are. Like, finding all the memories, it's like, the memories are all over these random locations. You just have to hope you're at the right spot so that your lantern will start glowing. But some of them are just in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. And so if you just didn't happen to be walking past that, you would not even get it. So, like, so 100%ing it is just, like, realistically impossible because of how big the world is and how easy it is to overlook something. You know, as you're progressing through, it's like, yeah, as you go across the land, you know, something 200 feet away from you, you're just not going to see. And so you'd have to, like, double back around 200 feet south and north to look again. So it's like, you know, that just becomes tedious with no easy in-game way of kind of like guiding you to the points of interest, so that maybe you could use it after you've beaten the game to then, you know, find all the things you might have missed. But then it also doesn't really matter because all the gear is all basically the same. Like, they just have they have like basically 3 types of gear where it's like, this is the one that gives you the most stats. This is the one that gives you a little bit of like a little less stats, but gives you a bonus effect. And this is something that gives you even less stats, but gives you more bonus effects. And that's basically how all their gear works. You know, weapons, armor. So no matter what armor or piece of gear you get, it falls into that category of, okay, is this weapon just purely stat weapon? So it's the max attack weapon with no bonus effects? Or is this a weapon that gives you at max refinement like 2 or 3 less attack, but gives you 2 attack speed? Or is this gives you even a few more, like 4 less attack, 4 to 5 less attack, but like 4 attack speed, you know? Stuff like that. And they basically, the armor is much the same too. So it's like, so gear you find at the end game is not better than the gear you found at the beginning of the game. At all. Like, the only advantage about getting that gear is it might have an abyss gear that you didn't have. Where it's like, oh, the effect of this abyss gear is amazing. So I want that, and I'll slot that into my current gear. You know? Which is nice, because that means the gear you upgraded will still remain relevant throughout the entire game, but it also means that any gear you find later doesn't really matter if you find it or not, because it's not going to, you know, it's not going to improve your power, it's just something to hold on to. And the only purpose of it is if you like the appearance of it more than your current gear, you might be like, okay, well, I'll level this one up now and just use that instead. So, yeah. It's just, yeah, it's a fun game. honestly, I do kind of regret putting this much time into it at the end of it, where I'm just like, it's like there were definitely a lot of frustrations I had with it as well. And so on some level, I kind of like regret the time that was spent into it. Like, I kind of wish I put that time into a game I enjoyed more. Like, honestly, I enjoyed Digimon Story Time Stranger. I enjoyed that game more than Crimson Desert. Like, Crimson Desert is fun, but I just had more fun playing. The hours I put into Digimon Story just felt more enjoyable. Just overall, like, there were never really moments where I felt frustrated with that game. And, you know, or with the core element of the game. It was just a fun game I enjoyed. So, yeah, stuff like that. Where, like, I don't regret playing it to a degree. Like, I did have fun playing it, but I just regret the amount of time I played it. Like, I kind of regret putting this much time into it, so that I became bored of it, right? Like, maybe if I had just focused on the main story and only had a minimal amount of exploration, then maybe I would have been able to keep it fresh throughout the entire playthrough. You know, if I wasn't 100%ing Hernan or 100%ing Payloon, then 100%ing Divinus, maybe if I only got like 75%, I would be able to keep some wonder and mystery that could have carried me through the rest of the game. But basically, at this point, I'm just kind of like burnt out. And that's why the game is popular. But yeah, anyway, that's it's a game that went quantity over quality, which is like, that's why I don't think it should. I don't think it should be nominated for Game of the Year, because it's not a quality game. It's just a game with a lot of quantity, you know, and that's just confused people into thinking, "Wow, it's so amazing," because it's a sense of wonder. It's a sense of wonder from doing all these things, but then once you've done it, you realize, oh, well, each system is not really that good. Each of the things they provide you is just okay, but it just feels like, wow, because of how much there is. But it's just like, you know, and I guess I could do it as a food analogy. It's like the difference between a $100 steak and $101 steaks, right? It's like, some people, like, you might see $101 steaks and be like, wow, look at all these steaks. Oh my God, that's so many steaks. But then you eat them all and they're just like, okay, these are okay. You know, they're fine. And then after eating half of them, you're like, oh my God, I'm so full. I feel like shit. I feel so full. Whereas if you had that $100 steak, you'd be like, you'd enjoy every single bite of it. Every single bite, you're like, my God, this is delicious. Oh my God, so tasty. Oh, great. Whereas like for the $101 steaks, you're just like, okay, it's beef, cool. It'd be like, okay, it's whatever, 100 times, and then feel sick by the end of it because you had too much, you know. And that's basically kind of what happened for me from the desert. It's like, I've eaten all my $101 steaks, and now I feel bloated and disgusting, you know. So it's like that. And so maybe if I paced myself and didn't, you know, fill up on just gorge on all the 100 steaks right away, and maybe tried to spread it out throughout the entire game, it would have been fine. But yeah. So that's kind of my opinion about it. It's a fun game. If someone said, do you recommend playing it or not, I would say, yeah, sure. Because if you like it, you like it, right? It's one of these games that, like, if you like this kind of sandbox, and you like exploring for exploring's sake, like, you don't care that the gear is the same, but you just like the act of finding the gear, then yeah, sure, it's a fun game. There's a lot of stuff to do, and if you want to kill a lot of time, if you want a game that has a lot of things to do that you can just kind of like mindlessly do while you're doing something else, it's a fun game. But I wouldn't say that's a ringing endorsement for a Game of the Year. Yeah, so I assume, my assumption obviously was always that she came in, she murdered these people because she's trying to murder them. She was tasked with killing them all because they're assholes. she was going to, pat her on the head when she found her and say, "Hey, you're fine." But Sissy was so afraid of her because she was covered in blood from the other people she killed that she ran away. So she was afraid, thinking that she was going to be killed, thinking that she was next. When in reality, she wasn't trying to do that at all. As you can see, she was crouching down. She's just going to pet her on the head. Oh, is Sissy why she chained her hands up? Is that why she did that? Because obviously you saw her hands were covered in blood. Did they scar each other? Did Sissy scar Promia? So she's like, oh my god, like, these children are scared of me because of all this blood in my hands. Is that why she chains her hands behind her back? So that she keeps her hands clean? So if she ever needs to, take care of children, they won't be afraid by the blood in her hands?
いや確か
だったらさ、もうジラジラ見るのやめてってば。尻尾の鱗まで。
Okay. But unfortunately, yet again, I wasted too much time ranting. Let me just double check the events are. 60 minutes to do this, 30 minutes to do that. Okay, so once again, I wasted way too much time ranting. Didn't get that much story done. So tomorrow, more story, more Zenless Zone Zero story, and maybe finishing it. I'm not even sure. Like, I don't know, because like realistically, I haven't actually covered that much. So I imagine there's actually a lot more to do still. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and call it for now. I might be on later today, depending if I'm doing something with my friend or not. If I'm not, then I'll probably be on Final Fantasy, running some more variant dungeons, and another Thalia. Let's try another Thalia raid to see if I can get my tank hands or my aiming headpiece. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all